An unidentified decedent, or a UID, is a term in American English used to describe a corpse of a person whose identity cannot be established by police and medical examiners. In many cases, it is several years before the identities of some of the bodies are found. In some cases, they are never identified. In Australia, as of the date of recording this video, there are a reported 200 unidentified bodies. One of the most famous of these involves a well-dressed man found on a beach in Adelaide, South Australia, found with no identification and a strange piece of paper with a cryptic message written in a foreign language. With no other names to go by, he has been dubbed the Somerton Man. Welcome back to a new year. We hope you've had a good holiday period, and let's hope that this new year will be a good one. I would like to say a big hello to all the new subscribers that have joined Shadow Matter over the break, and would love to hear from you all, so please drop a comment below, even if it is just to say hi. Today's video is about one of Australia's longest unsolved mysteries that has been heavily speculated on over the years. A tale that is so intriguing and mysterious, it can conjure up all sorts of theories. A discovery of a body on a beach at Somerton Park in Adelaide, South Australia in 1948 has remained one of Australia's most intriguing and mysterious unsolved cases for over 70 years. The clues, or lack thereof, only add to the mystery and make it not only Australia's but one of the world's most perplexing cold cases of all time. At 7 p.m. on Tuesday, November the 30th, 1948, a jeweller named John Bain Lyons and his wife went for a stroll on Somerton Beach, a seaside resort a few miles south of Adelaide. As they walked along the beach, they noticed a smartly dressed man lying on the sand, his hand propped against a seawall and his legs outstretched with his feet crossed. As the couple watched, the man extended his right arm upward and then it fell limply back to the ground. The couple thought the man was drunk and attempting to smoke a cigarette. Half an hour later, another couple noticed the same man lying in the same position. Looking on him from above, the woman could see that he was immaculately dressed in a suit with polished new shoes. She thought this was odd attire for a beach. The man was motionless, with his left arm splayed out on the sand. Again, the conclusion of the situation was that the man was either drunk or asleep. With his face being surrounded by mosquitoes, the couple even joked that he must be dead to the world, not to be bothered by them. The next morning, on December the 1st, at 6:30 a.m., the police were contacted after a pair of jockeys riding their horses had found the man, his body cold, and no signs of breathing. Police found no evidence of any violence. However, there was a half-smoked cigarette lying on the man's collar, indicating it may have fallen from his mouth. The body was taken to the Royal Adelaide Hospital 3 hours later. It was there that Dr. John Barclay Bennett estimated that the time of the death was no earlier than 2 a.m. The attending pathologist, John Matthew Dwyer, determined that the body had not been moved after death. Dwyer also noted a couple of irregularities. The man's pupils appeared to be small and unusually shaped. The man also had blood in his stomach, which suggested to Dwyer the presence of some irritant poison, but subsequent tests found no poison in the man's blood. This led some investigators to believe that the Somerton Man had either digested digitalis and strophanthin, two lethal poisons that don't leave a trace. The police were further perplexed by the fact that the man had no identification on his person. He was wearing boxer shorts, a men's singlet, a white shirt, and a thin red tie. He also wore light brown trousers, a brown sweater, and a brown double-breasted coat. His shoes were polished and appeared to be brand new. One of his pants pockets had been repaired with an unusual type of orange thread not found in Australia. Also in his pockets, investigators found an unused railway ticket to Henley Beach from Adelaide, a US manufactured metal comb, a packet of juicy fruit chewing gum, a packet of Army Club cigarettes that contained a more expensive brand of cigarettes, a handkerchief, and a packet of Bryant and May matches. The man had athletic legs and seemed to be in his late 40s or early 50s. His forearms were tanned, and his toes were oddly mangled, as though they had been forced into tight shoes, suggesting perhaps that he had been a dancer. None of the clothes bore any name tags, and all the labels on the clothes had been carefully snipped away. With very little clues to go on, the police took a full set of fingerprints of the unidentified man and circulated throughout Australia and then later throughout the English-speaking world. No one could identify them. People from all over Adelaide were escorted to the mortuary in the hopes that someone may be able to identify the Somerton Man, yet no one recognised the body. By January the 11th, 1949, the police had investigated and dismissed every lead they had. The results of the fingerprints came back from the FBI and Scotland Yard. Neither had any matches on file. And although the coroners determined that the Somerton Man died of heart failure, they could not determine a definitive cause for it. On the 14th of January, staff at the Adelaide railway station discovered a brown suitcase with its label removed, which had been checked into the station cloakroom after 11:30 a.m. on November the 30th, 1948, the same day that the man was spotted on the beach by the lions. It was believed that the suitcase was owned by the Somerton Man. The staff could remember nothing about the owner. Only a reel of orange thread contained in the suitcase seemed to link this item to the unknown man, the same orange thread that had been used to repair the dead man's trousers. It appeared that painstaking care had been taken to remove almost every trace of the owner's identity. The suitcase bore no stickers or markings, and a label had been torn off from one side. The tags were missing from all but 3 items of the clothing inside. These bore the name Keen, or T. Keen. The other contents of the case were a red checkered dressing gown, a size 7 red felt pair of slippers, 4 pairs of underpants, pajamas, shaving items, a light brown pair of trousers with sand in the cuffs, an electrician's screwdriver, a table knife cut down into a short, sharp instrument, a pair of scissors with sharpened points, a small square of zinc thought to have been used as a protective sheath for the knife and scissors, and a stenciling brush used by third officers on merchant ships for stenciling cargo. A search concluded that no T. Keen was missing in any English-speaking country. The police were baffled. 4 months after the discovery of the body, police had brought in another expert, John Cleland, a professor of pathology at the University of Adelaide, to re-examine the corpse and the dead man's possessions. Cleland's search produced a final piece of evidence, one that proved to be the most mysterious of all. Cleland discovered a small pocket sewn into the waistband of the man's pants. Previous examiners had missed it altogether, and inside the pocket was found a tightly rolled scrap of paper. When opened up, the paper revealed an elaborate printed script. The phrase read, "TAMÁM SHUD." This is a Persian phrase that translates to finish, or it is ended. Public library officials called in to translate the text identified it as a phrase found on the last page of the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam. This book was a rare New Zealand edition of a book of poetry that was originally written in the 12th century. It had become popular in Australia during the war years. Police conducted an Australia-wide search to find a copy of the book, with a missing last scrap of paper that matched that of the man's. A photograph of the scrap of paper was released to the press in the hopes that someone may recognize it. It wasn't until July 1949, 8 months after the body was found, that the copy of the exact book was found. On the 23rd of July, a man from Glenelg walked into the detective office in Adelaide with the copy of the book, and a strange story. In December of the previous year, according to the man, just after the discovery of the Somerton Man, he had gone for a drive with his brother-in-law in a car he had kept parked a few hundred yards from Somerton Beach. The brother-in-law had found a copy of the Rubaiyat lying on the floor by the rear seats. Each man had assumed that it belonged to the other, and then the book had sat in the car's glove box ever since. Once they had been alerted to a newspaper article about the missing book in question, the two men went back and took a closer look. They found the final page had a missing part that had been torn out. Detective Sergeant Lionel Lean took a close look at the book. He found a telephone number penciled in on the back cover. Further inspections with a magnifying glass revealed a faint impression of some other letters, written in capital letters underneath. The phone number was unlisted, but it proved to belong to a young nurse who lived near Somerton Beach. The series of letters revealed fully under ultraviolet light show 5 rows of letters in no discernible order, seemingly thought to be some sort of secret code. Neither the investigators or experts could break this code. So the police followed up with the phone number and went to the address. Interestingly, this address was located just 400 meters from where Somerton Man's body was found. The nurse did not wish to go on public record and asked for her name to be suppressed from courts, which later may have stunted further investigations. The only things we know from this investigation are that the woman seemed evasive in the interview and even turned away when shown a cast of the head and bust made from the Somerton Man. There was also mention of a man coming to visit her house on November the 30th, but she was not at home, and apparently this man went to visit her neighbor and ask her about the woman's whereabouts. How her telephone number ended up in this book seems to be a little vague, but gave police another lead to go on. The nurse claims that she herself had presented a copy of the book to a man she had known during the war. She gave the detectives his name, Alfred Boxall. The police chased this lead of Alfred Boxall, thinking possibly it may be the name of their John Doe. Within days, they traced his home to Maroubra, New South Wales. The problem was that Alfred Boxall turned out to still be alive. And another plot twist developed for the investigators, as Boxall still had the copy of the book that the nurse had given him. It even bore the nurse's inscriptions. The scrap of paper found on Somerton Man must have come from somewhere else. And it is here, for all intents and purposes, the mystery and case of the Somerton Man went cold. For over 70 years, no one is truly sure of the identity of the unknown man. He was given a proper burial, and his gravesite can still be visited in West Terrace Cemetery in Adelaide. So who was the Somerton Man? Some theories point to a love affair between the Somerton Man and the nurse, while others point to the Somerton Man being a spy. As the Cold War was just in its infancy, it is not surprising nor completely dismissible, given the facts of a secret code, no identity found, and an untraceable poison that was possibly the cause of death. And who was this strange Alfred Boxall that seems to be connected to the nurse and the Somerton Man? What do you think the story behind this mystery was? Let us know in the comments below. This has been an episode of Shadow Matter, the mystery of the Somerton Man. If you enjoyed this episode, then please don't forget to hit the like button. And if you want to see more content like this, then please subscribe and check the notifications bell. And together, we can explore the strange, the terrifying, the unknown, the Shadow Matter.